As you begin to build responsive websites and build websites that are going to be used on mobile devices, it's going to be really important for you to be able to test your designs and make sure that they're going to work well on the various devices. Now, obviously, this can be challenging since there are so many different devices out there, and how to test can become a bit of an issue since there's no way that you're going to possibly be able to test on all of the devices that someone might be accessing your website from. So what we're going to be talking about right now is some various methods that you can use to be able to test. Now, obviously, the best way to test your website is to simply view it on the device. That ultimately is going to be the most accurate representation of how your website is actually going to function, is to look at it on that particular device. With that being said, that isn't always going to be feasible. You're not going to have every iteration of a certain sort of operating system or a particular device. So testing can become a challenge. Luckily, there are a lot of resources that are available to us. Some of these are built right into the browsers that you're using, and some of them are additional websites or add-ons that you can incorporate into your browser. So right now I'm looking at this website in Chrome. So one of the ways in which you might commonly want to test your website is simply to resize the screen. You can grab the screen and simply resize the website. Now you can see that this website that I'm looking at, the FoodSense website, the layout is changing, and that's because this website was built in a responsive way. So as I resize the screen, it does change. We know it's responsive. However, resizing the screen does not really accurately mimic any of those mobile devices. I'm just kind of resizing the screen and seeing where it lands and what it looks like. If you want to have a more accurate representation of what the website may look like on different devices, there's a couple of different ways that you can kind of test and emulate the devices. We're going to be looking at some of these in this particular video. Now, before I do that, I do want to take you to another website. This is HuffingtonPost.com. And if I resize the window and make the window smaller, you can see that the site is not reformatting. I do have horizontal scroll bars, and I would have to scroll to be able to read all of the content on the website, but it is not actually acting in a responsive way. This is obviously going to be a problem. Is it that this website was just not built for mobile devices, or is something wrong with my browser? Well, in this particular case, the Huffington Post, unlike the FoodSense website, which resizes as I change the size of my browser, this is responsive. The Huffington Post website is actually a website that has a mobile version of their site and a desktop version of their site. So on my desktop, to be able to access that, I need to open the developer tools inside of my browser. Now, you can access the developer tools a number of ways. In Chrome, to access the developer tools, you're going to come to this right-hand part of your window, and you should see some dots here. And if you click on this, you should be able to go into more tools. Let me make my browser a little smaller because I don't think you can see this. If I go into the little dots and go to more tools, and then I go to developer tools, it's going to open up the developer tools. And the developer tools are a set of tools that allow you to do a number of things. So some of those things are that we can look at the code, we can look at the CSS, we can get lots of information. But what I want to bring your attention to here is this little button right here, which is going to toggle the device toolbar. So when I click this, you can see that it does change the layout of the website. And what it actually looked like is it just took this desktop version of my website and just shrunk it down and made it smaller. If we go ahead and we use the pull down menu right here, and I tell this to emulate a specific device, let's just say an iPhone 6, it's going to show me how this looks on an iPhone 6. And if I hit the button right here to change the layout from portrait to landscape, you can see that it does change it. Again, this isn't really giving me an accurate representation of what this website looks like. If I truly want to see what this website looks like, I need to refresh the page. So when I click refresh here, you can now see that the website looks quite a bit different. We no longer have the menu item like we did before. We have a more traditional kind of hamburger menu, which is going to open up and show me the different areas. You can see that my pointer is not an arrow anymore. It is something that is going to mimic like a finger swiping down on the phone. If I scroll through the page, or if I click hold and drag, I can scroll through the page, more reminiscent of how I would be using this on a mobile device. What I want to bring your attention to is you can see that the URL has slightly changed. We are now seeing a URL of m.huffpost.com. If we go to the regular version of Huffington Post, so let's go back there real quick, this is what the page looks like. And if I open up my developer tools, I haven't refreshed the page, so you can see that the URL is showing me huffingtonpost.com. The mobile version of the site has actually its own URL. It's going to detect how you are accessing the website, and it's going to serve up a whole different version of the website. So this website doesn't give me the exact same content as the desktop one. You can see that on the mobile version of the site, I have like an advertisement up here. I have this same kind of headline with these images, but obviously no scroll bars. And I have little kind of teaser text and pictures for the various articles. If we go to the desktop version, the layout is significantly different. So this is customized for a bigger screen. So in this case, when I use the toggle device toolbar button and go into the website, I might not be viewing the mobile version of the site. I might have to refresh to get in there. So this site is a little different. It's not a responsive website. They have a dedicated desktop version of their site and a dedicated mobile version of their site. FoodSense, on the other hand, is a website that is responsive. So if I go into my toggle device toolbar, and you can see that right now it's showing me this page as an iPhone 6. If I toggle from portrait to landscape, the layout does change, and now it shows me what it might look like in a landscape view. I can also switch to these other sorts of devices. So if I want to see what this looks like on a Nexus 6, it's going to show me how this looks on that particular device. So you can see on all of these different devices, I'm going to have more or a little less of the content is going to actually show, depending on the real estate for that device. You can also come in here and you can edit this list and add in your own custom lists. And obviously this list is not super big, so you might want to add some other ones. If you're building and you know your customers are using a particular sort of device, you would want to make a profile for that device. You can also go into the responsive view, and the responsive view is going to kind of be like what we have in the browser. The only advantage that we have here is that it does give you the exact dimensions. So if I was developing something and looking for where I might want to put a breakpoint, this could be really helpful because I can determine exactly where a breakpoint occurs. So you can see as I slowly make my screen smaller, right around 767 or 768 or something like that, that's where a breakpoint is. So it's actually changing the layout of this page. And don't worry, we'll learn all about breakpoints and things like that. So this is one way that you can kind of emulate and see how your website is going to function, or how a website's going to function, by using these built-in developer tools that are part of Chrome. So this allows you to actually simulate mobile devices with this device mode. In a nutshell, what the device mode is going to do inside of Chrome is it's going to allow you to emulate your site across different screen sizes and different resolutions. It's going to help you to be able to design responsively, because you're going to be able to see where things start to break. Okay, and then to turn this toggle device toolbar off, you simply are going to click this button and it takes you just back into the regular view. So that can obviously be very helpful to be able to utilize that. Some other tools that I do want to share with you are some other items that are going to allow you to test and see what your website looks like on a variety of devices. The first one we're going to look at is Viewport Resizer. And this is a useful little bookmarklet that simply lets you resize your browser to a specific dimension. I've already installed this into the browser, so I'm ready to go. If I click or bookmark, it's going to go ahead and open up this menu right here. And what I can do is I can click on these presets and see what my website might look like set at a small tablet. So you can see a small tablet is 600 by 800. Here's the portrait. It's 3 by 4. I do have the ability to resize this and make a custom size as well, but there are some presets that are part of this little bookmarklet. And so this could be a helpful item that you might want to incorporate or use. And all of the resources that I'm sharing with you right now are free. Here's the URL to get to the Viewport Resizer. The next one that I want to show you is ResponseInator. And ResponseInator allows you to actually take a URL and then it's going to output a sequence of device mockups with the web page rendered in them so that you can get an idea of how the page layout's going to be experienced on various devices. I've placed the URL in here. I'm going to click go, and it's going to load the FoodSense website in these different kind of devices. Now, these are not perfect representations. You can see right here we get horizontal scroll bars, which probably won't exist in the actual device, but their preview does show that. So it is going to be important for you to test this on the devices, but at least this is an idea. If we keep scrolling down, you can see that now it's showing me what the website looks like on an iPhone 5 landscape, and it gives me the width. And here's what it's going to look like on an iPhone 6 portrait, and it gives me the width once again. And then if we keep scrolling down, you can see that it shows me the landscape on an iPhone 6. And then here we have different devices and different sizes. So here's a crappy Android portrait, whatever that might mean. And you can see it's showing that I have horizontal and vertical. So I would definitely want to check on these devices to make sure that that is not happening if I'm trying to build something responsive. But this is a tool that you can use to kind of test. The next one that we're going to look at is called MI Responsive. And this is just a simple web tool that allows you to test the responsiveness of any site. It also can give you some good previews that might be good for a presentation or something like that. So you're going to enter your website and you're going to click go, and then it's going to show you what the website looks like on these different devices. And you can see I actually have scroll bars within these little devices. I can scroll and see how this page would look on phones, tablets, laptops, and desktops. So you can see it gives me a different rendering depending on how I'm accessing the website. The last one that we're going to look at right now is called ScreenFly. And ScreenFly is, well, like some of these other tools, it allows you to plug in a URL and then gives you a preview of the web page under various preset screen dimensions. So if I put in my FoodSense URL and we click OK, it's going to open it up, and you can see right now it's showing me how this looks on a desktop. It's going to give me the dimensions, so this is 1040 by 600. If I click any of these little presets here, I can choose different sorts of tablet devices. So if I wanted to know what this looked like on a Nexus 7, this is going to give me a rundown. Here's on mobile, and you can see that they have a pretty good listing of different sorts of phones. So if I wanted to see it on a BlackBerry, this is what this would look like on a BlackBerry device, or on a Motorola. Here's television, so this includes television size screens as well, which can be helpful because remember, mobile device doesn't necessarily have to mean computer. And here we can add our own custom screen sizes. You can refresh the page once you've made a change. You can rotate the screen. You can click this to allow scrolling, which will allow you to actually scroll in these different preview modes. This is going to use a proxy server, which we don't need to do that, and this will allow you to share. So this is another quick tool that you can use just to test your website. So they all work. I just want to introduce you to some. If your normal go-to browser is not Chrome, there are add-ons for all of the other browsers, or they're built into the developer tools. So really quickly, if I open up Firefox, here's the FoodSense website on Firefox. If I want to access my developer tools in Firefox and access the mobile views, I would need to click to open the menu. In the upper right hand corner, click Developer, and then I can go into my developer toolbar, or there's actually a responsive design mode, which is what we're going to want to access. And this is going to allow you to put in specific sizes. You can add your own custom presets if you want. You can rotate what this device might look like. So if we go to like more of a phone size view and I rotate, this gives me the landscape mode. Here we're back to portrait. This is going to simulate touch events. So if there's any sort of touch event listeners, which are something that you might want to add with JavaScript, you can test those and see if they work. And this right here is going to allow you to take a screenshot. So once you've clicked this, it's going to take a screenshot. If you wanted to copy this and use it somewhere else, then you could easily do so. So hopefully this is helpful and it gives you an idea of some different tools and different ways that you can simulate what your website is going to look like, or what any website might look like on various devices. Do be aware that certain websites may have this dedicated mobile URL, whole separate URL. So those websites are not responsive. They might work well on a variety of devices, mobile devices, but they're not responsive. And right now we're looking at responsive websites. So this is something that I want you to be aware of.